Is the video on? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ooh. Well, thank you everybody for being here today.
We have a pen. Your pens.
That do?
Watch me, I steal it.
Yeah, well, that's an extra anyway, so. We, like in the commissioner meeting, we usually start out if anybody'd like to say something before the meeting starts. We won't be voting on it, but anybody got anything they'd like to bring up real quick before we get started?
I'd just like to say, I think that we should, maybe say a little prayer for these kids that were killed and teachers in Texas, you know. You get a small community like that and it brings it home that it could happen here. Blessed we are.
Bill Graham brings up a very good point, and maybe we ought to take a moment of silence. What do you think? Let's have a moment of silence, please. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor, appreciate that.
Well, I couldn't imagine having to go through what they're going through. You know, the effect that it's gonna have on all those people and all the kids in school. You know, you take people what, through the second through the fourth grade. All those kids are gonna have some lifetime lasting
It affects the whole country.
effects of that. And the parents.
Yeah, it affects everybody. It's a terrible thing. We hope we see an end to the craziness someday, but I don't know that we will. Today's meeting, Iowa Gasway member here, Bill Graham is here. Carl Stout is absent today with family health issues, and Lindy Hughbanks couldn't make it. Is that correct?
She's at school doing awards.
Okay, so we have enough for a quorum here, so we'll get the meeting started. First thing up, EMS additional appropriation request for $195,000. Come on up. I didn't mean that. I mean, sometimes people see this stuff and I say request $195,000. They might want a little bit of the history of it. It's not really an additional. It's money passed back down. If you want to get on that a little bit.
A couple of years ago, you all approved the purchase of a truck through the redevelopment committee. I have since sold that truck. However, when we sold the truck, where the money was used out of redevelopment, it came back to you, and I'm just asking to repurpose that money from the sale of the truck.
Yeah, and there was certain things you wanted to use it for.
Correct. So we've had to change it up a little bit. You might have the updated one that I sent Tammy. I just wanted to make sure that you've got it. So I know initially we're looking at the striker bill that we've got here from prior administration. We had a $32,000, right at a $32,000 credit, somewhere in that ballpark with striker. I planned on using that $32,000 plus what I was asking for from redevelopment to pay that loan. Unfortunately, the credit I have is with Stryker Medical. The loan that I have is through Stryker Flex. And even though they're sister companies, money cannot transfer from one account to the other. So I know when I initially came to you, I had a residual of unexpended money that was, I think, an amount of $18,000 or $19,000. I've since had to move that up into my Stryker ask, plus cut some of the other stuff I was asking for to make that happen. So initially the full $195,000 was not requested as far as itemized detail. However, it is now.
Well, we, correct me if I'm wrong here, the striker bill, $153,395. That's, we got a payment coming due on that. Is that correct?
It was due months ago.
Yes, and I've been talking with the lady, and I was telling her about our timeline that we're working on, and she's been gracious. And I told her, I said, we'll get it resolved in the month of May. So if this gets approved, you know, you all act as council and commissioners for these funds. So if upon your approval today, we can get that payment made in the urgents this Friday, if you guys so move.
Yeah, that's why I brought this. If you do approve it,
We can get
it
a
was
claim
supposed to be
ready.
paid 3 or 4 months ago.
Okay.
And I mean, while they have been good with it, they are not, if not persistent with reminding us.
Yes.
And the rest of the 195 would be these bills below?
Correct.
And those are all, okay, we okay with those bills too?
I'll go item by item and let you, I'll weigh that against what Karen responded to me.
Mm-hmm.
She indicated to me on her email Friday, May the 20th, that TIF cannot be used for operating expenses. It can only be used for capital expenditures or costs of certain educational programs. It cannot be used for maintenance of equipment. So those are her criteria for the actual use of your funds, regardless, I guess, of the TIF plan, because the plans are made in accordance with how the statute allows the funds to be expended. So Stryker is capital outlay, so that expenditure is totally allowable, I believe. 15,000 for lighted up, it's for equipment for lighting 3 vehicles.
New
I think
ones.
that can be considered a capital outlay. I'm looking at him to make sure he's okay with that too. Lettering of 3 vehicles, I'm not for sure that would really be capital outlay, it'd be more like maintenance or upkeep of a vehicle. So that one could be something that we need to get more detail from her to see if that would be considered.
Even though it's on the same vehicles of lighting those vehicles,
Right.
it's not maintenance because it hasn't been done. It's outfitting the vehicles for.
I would say it follows.
Maybe it would be then, I'm not really for sure, I think that's
It's not
kind of
reviewing
gray.
anything. It's not.
I would, to just be safe, I would call Karen, your
Yes.
office Karen, to just confirm that, so you have something in the file. Only because I've seen state board of accounts start auditing the auditor's office, the county, on uses of TIF more. That way, if they ever do question it, you have something in the file that says, our bond attorney signed off on it.
Okay,
And I even have seen where state board of accounts have written up, some people for buying police cars. And that's definitely a capital expense.
Yeah.
And they have something in the file that says, no, our attorney says it's a legit use of TIF.
so then they
So-
don't take exception at
Right.
that point,
Yeah.
okay.
Jason, you mind just saying who you are, who you're with for the video?
Yeah, Jason Similar, Baker Tilly, Service Financial Advisor for the Redevelopment Commission.
Yeah, thank you.
And, Sigma IV pumps, that would be an equipment expense, so you're fine there. Butterfly IQ for ultrasound, I
That's
don't know.
equipment.
Is that equipment? Okay. And then the Kubota repair, I'm not for sure that that's maintenance of equipment, so I'm not for sure that that would be covered. If it's a repair, it's not an actual purchase of equipment. So there may be a couple things I think we need to tap into her to have her give us a thumbs up or down on
I can
these.
see the Kubota not fitting if it's a repair, but I would definitely like to dive into the lettering,
7,000.
considering because it's no different than lighting the vehicles. You're putting the equipment on it or in it, and those vehicles have to be identified by state statute.
And for the board's purpose, I advertise the entire 195. So you can develop a line in your budget for EMS projects, and then we can expend from that, I would assume. And that way the 195 can get appropriated, and then we can delve into these other 2 to see which way they go, and then it's there. If you guys approve the claim, then he can have it. It's
Yeah,
already
assuming
appropriated, yes.
Karen says it's okay, but
Yes.
otherwise we can approve the 195.
5.
And then if these things aren't approvable, that money doesn't get spent.
And then just tell me
Right.
which ones you want me to expend now that you will approve, and we can get claims and get John to sign them, and
Okay.
we can move forward. So if you agree that the 153 is good, I'll mark it. The 15 for the lights, the 3750 for the medical, IV pumps, the ultrasound, and those 4
What
would
about the
definitely.
5,500 on the ventilator?
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that one.
Okay.
For the other equipment. So there's only 2 items that we would not write a claim for right now, which would be the lettering for the signs and the Kubota repair.
But we could approve the full
You
amount.
could
and then
approve
if
the
it's not approved,
195
it's
and then
not approved.
approve these 5 expenses for me to go ahead and make claims on, if you wanted to do that.
We approve the full amount. After we act on this, I'd like to make a comment.
Yes, sir. You got anything, Ivan?
I'll second.
You wanna make a comment, did you say?
Yeah, let's act on this.
Okay, I'm with you. Motion been made by Bill Graham, second by Ivor Gasway, that we pass the full amount of $195,000 from redevelopment, where it'll be available for EMS to use. And it's money that, he already had. He sold a vehicle and went back to redevelopment, so it's not so much an additional as it is just being replaced. So, I'll make that unanimous, the motion passes. Okay, so, and then, what's able to be spent and all that, you'll have to work with Karen Arlen from there.
The comment I'd like to make, and I'd really like to make it when all the members are here, but I think we really ought to sit down and take a hard look at what is redevelopment. And I don't think funding the EMS is redevelopment. And I think there are a lot of other things we spend this money on that we're calling redevelopment, but is it really redevelopment? I'm not saying that EMS might not do something, be eligible for redevelopment money, but for us just to fund that, and you're a commissioner, one thing I'm saying, John, I just don't think that falls under the purview of redevelopment commission. I think we'll look at it and talk about it, and I think this board really needs to look at, what is redevelopment? I know that we can pay for some capital things and we can't pay for labor and all that, but, and like buying police cars, to me, that's not redevelopment. That's funding everyday budgets. Redevelopment is a special, very special, I think, section that needs to have close attention paid to it and figure out what we're all about. If we don't do that, everybody's gonna ask us for money. And how you can turn down one if you don't turn down the other, if it don't fall under redevelopment. And we find out we'd better ask, what is it, the project that Preacher Steve's here about, it's, to me, that's redevelopment. That's something new that's changing the community, it's changing the way of our life. And that is truly redevelopment. And there's nothing any more important to me than EMS. But should that come out of redevelopment fund? I'm all for funding the EMS and doing all that we can for it. Are we taking it out of the right place? That's my statement, sticking to it.
It's a good point, worth looking at. How much, Tammy, do you have kind of like a treasury report? You could tell us how much money we have available and that kind of stuff?
I can get maybe to pull one. I
Would you-
usually have one, but I didn't think about it.
Got an idea of what we got in the bank?
Our
So
fund
we
balance.
Vote on, we need to know how much
I
money.
think
we
it was like 1.3 or 1.4.
Yeah.
It was 1.4 as of December.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we haven't made June's settlement yet, so there'll be more coming in.
You have an idea what's coming in and going and,
She's gonna run me an
Okay.
updated report on EMS. Or not
Okay,
EMS, RDC.
so we pass that, we'll just go from there with it.
We'll go
Anything
from
else
there.
you need
Yeah,
discussed?
so I'll write the claims up and just to where I can write around the right fund, and then you can, if you got invoices, whenever you bring them, we'll just tab them, I'll just keep tabs on them. We'll get it, a line item set up in the redevelopment budget, okay? And then the first thing we'll get Stryker out though, so I might be talking to you if you've
You
got
want
that.
this?
Yeah, if you don't mind, that'd be great, and then I can send information to the lady I've been talking to up north.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you very much.
In no way am I trying to pick on EMS.
I don't take it personally.
No, it's not personal.
Next on the agenda will be the coroner's project, additional appropriation. Is that something you'll bring up and talk about, or nobody's here for that?
No, that's just basically
Well, we already discussed it.
redoing
Yeah.
last year's appropriation because it was not encumbered, and the expense is there, so. And
Yeah,
it's
it-
just it's basically like we're kind of doing a redo,
Yeah, redo this.
so it's for 20.
So that 30,000 would go for the construction of the coroners, all those
The
who work
coroner's
inside the hospital.
Yeah.
And we have approved that, but this will just be bringing it forward, make it available to be used.
Yes, in 22, because it was already appropriated in 21.
Any questions or remarks?
Motion to approve.
I'll second it, but I'll say that's the same thing again. I'm sure that's redevelopment.
Well, and I'm going to too, the question I bring up, which would really be back more for the commissioners, is I don't think we really got that engineer approval yet, have we, Tammy, do you know?
I don't know that the occupancy certificate has been issued on that. I haven't heard anything lately.
But regardless, this money would be owed.
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, one way or the other, the company needs to be paid. So we're just waiting on some approvals to get it opened up and get it running. So I'll make that unanimous. Vote passes. Okay.
Who seconded it?
I did.
You did, okay.
Want to come up, Reverend?
Well,
Resol-
Let me introduce the gentleman I've already.
Okay.
Mr. Robert Milner, he's our executive director at the Refuge, doing an excellent job and moving forward. And our stewardship director, Dr. Rose Logan, from Horizon Stewardship, he's pushing us forward.
Fantastic.
They can come up
appreciate
with
that.
you if you
Yeah, you can
want
all
to.
come up. This is resolution number 2022-005 and our agreement regarding the refuge. Which
I'd
we,
like to ask Steve a question if I could.
yeah, sure.
Steve, you told me their titles, but what do they do?
Well,
That-
Mr. Milner is our executive director, and he's involved, he's hired some people.
He's at our location.
Yes,
Okay.
he's working on
And
site.
I
His
thought
office
that,
is
but
in the
I want
Refuge
to
building.
make sure.
Mhm.
Welcome.
Well, thank you. Glad to be here.
And I'm with Horizon Stewardship, so I'm a consultant that's helping them make sure that the fundraising is in place to make sure that it's gonna get done.
Kind of thought that's what it was, but I'm new to this board and I'd kind of like to know before, you know.
These two men are really
You know, I know
helping make it happen.
facing Stimler sitting back here and I don't trust him anyway, so. But I think a lot of him.
Would you explain the resolution again, please?
All right, we reached out to Karen Arland, our legal advisor on the TIF board, and due to the uniqueness of this particular project, she said it was really more in the Refuge's interest, so to speak, to secure their relationship with the redevelopment board in support of their project, to adopt a resolution that this board resolves to participate with you for the reasons that she's outlined here. And I thought she did a really good job of capturing, I call it the essence of what this board's intentions were and what your goal is, and tying both sides together to see the relationship, and as Mayor Graham would say, why we're doing what we do, if it's a project and it's benefiting and it's developing or redeveloping an aspect of our community, why this board would be willing to support it with the TIF funds.
Right.
So she said, I'm gonna skip some of the boring parts up here, but the commission may contract for an educational program, and again, she said that in her email to me, allowed expenses out of TIF. Education was one of the items that she mentioned, so she's looking at it as an educator and an element of education in our community. Will promote the redevelopment and economic development of the county, is of utility and benefit, and is in the best interest of the county. So for this board to participate in an educational program with the Refuge. So the Refuge for Children is an Indiana nonprofit corporation whose mission is to provide relief to distressed, displaced, neglected, abused, or underserved children in the county by providing shelter, food, clothing, care, and the opportunity for a better future, all of which will assist in preparing the children to better participate in competitive and global economies. So I think she really did a great job of capturing that essence, as I call it. So this resolution would be your board's commitment to this project. And then accompanying that would be the agreement between the two as to how your support is going to be dispersed to them and how we're going to manage this agreement up to that $100,000 mark that you pledged towards them. Okay, so this agreement is protecting your funding
Mhm.
with this board. So Pam and I have already talked about, which is Reverend Gwaltney's wife, and about how we're gonna do this, and so you will incur the expense once this agreement should be, if it's approved, and you guys agree to it and they agree to it, you'll invoice us for your incurred expense, and then I can reimburse you. So this gives me a method of giving money to you without it being a grant, it's a billing situation.
right.
So that clears everything up legally.
So what are they gonna have to do to legally claim this?
Bill me and invoice me for something they've rendered an expense for. So they'll prove to me that they have made payment on a bill that they received for the educational, what's tied to the educational portion. And then once they submit that claim to me, then we'll pay up to $100,000 against the invoices that they send to me.
And this is something you've
As
talked.
for reimbursement,
You've talked to
yes,
Karen
yes.
about this, and this is what she thought was how we could do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because when we first approved this, I thought we was just gonna give them a check for $100,000.
And you can't do grants, so we can't write, you have to incur an expenditure. Just for example, like their construction that we supported,
Right,
I actually paid the contractor directly.
Right, right.
This allows for me to write a check to the Refuge and it not be a grant. This is going to be a reimbursement for something they've already spent.
And what I'm listening intently, I think what you're saying to me, there's no way that we can consider this educational program to be funded, like I would say, one check to the Refuge and this whole program. Because basically, that's why Mr. Miller is here. He's here to educate us in what we're doing at the Refuge.
Yes.
Training the people, and I mean, he's already done an awful lot, but there's a whole lot more yet to be done.
Yes.
And Mr. Miller knows that, and so, but I'm just wanting to clarify, because we could go the other route, but I need to say this to you. If we were able to get the check, boom, we're at a point right now where that would make a difference in what DCS would look at us and favor us if we already had the funds in-house.
And
I don't think you can do that, I just need to ask.
right.
yeah, I don't, that would be more of in a grant situation, I think, if we just wrote a check to you all and there's nothing that's a process where it's been spent and you've sent me the proof of expenditure and then we reimburse you. Because it has to take, I guess, that turn according to Karen that we have to have a,
The only real difference is who's writing the check, isn't it? I mean, they won't write the check, you'll write it. As needed.
and I'll reimburse them based on an
They've got-
educational expense that they've
Yeah,
had.
yeah.
They've got to spend it out of their money and then turn in a claim for it according to this, and then she'll write them a check to reimburse.
And I think that's what the agreement,
And we had some others like this that have helped us, and that's the way they had to do it. And so even any expenditures that we made as the Refuge, they had to have the invoice to reimburse us for that.
and she outlined it in this agreement, the maximum amount of this contract is $100,000 payable upon receipt of an invoice. And she said in approximately 12 equal installments. So it could be that you've had an expense that's exceeded this amount and you show me that you've spent this and then I reimburse you up to what you bill me.
Right.
It doesn't matter to me if I get 12 equal installments or if
Right.
you do it, if you send me $80,000 at once and then I see where you've expended and then I give you that 80 right off the top, like reimburse you. I'd really, how we work this out, I mean, it's an agreement.
Yeah.
This is kind of the baseline. And then the maximum term is a year. So we only have a year to expend this back to you, which if it's sooner to me, then that's fine. We'll be in compliance with the contract, so.
That was my
And
next
it's-
question.
It's like Jason said, I mean, you're gonna be audited, so you gotta do it
Yeah,
to fit their
yeah.
audit.
And Karen drafted this, so this is the criteria that she thinks meets the
And she
guidelines.
put some word, I have a copy of that.
I'll be glad to give
She,
you a
she
copy.
has worded it so well.
Oh, I thought she
need
did.
that for future reference.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
Now,
You
Ken,
might want to take credit for this.
Well, I don't know, Bill, I think she did a good job with it.
Might be a place where you want to.
once this agreement is signed, can you take it to DCF and show them that we committed?
Well,
The
Mr. Miller
100
would handle
Oh,
that,
okay.
because he knows about the regulations with DCS and what we
Oh,
need to do.
You think that'll
I
work
was
for you?
just knowing that right
Will this
now,
work for you?
Yes.
we're kind of at a place where if we can get the whole amount right now, it will give us favor with DCS. That's what I,
Right,
If you
I
could-
knew that.
I'm so sorry. If you could present invoices to me that you've already expended in 22, that I feel like is related to education.
I
Then-
brought 3 with me today.
Okay, all right,
So-
well,
so we can get started.
you're on it. All right, that's good. So we can get a
Step ahead.
start.
We gotta make this happen, folks. We gotta
Yes.
get the door open.
Right,
Yes.
exactly.
Building sitting there without children, it's just,
Yes.
it's not good.
Mhm.
Yes.
So you're hoping to open up this summer?
Well, you can ask Mr. Miller about that, because he's doing a good job. He can give
Man,
you
I-
some idea.
I would do that. Do you mind?
But he doesn't get all excited like the preacher does.
I do, his excitement's a little bit different than mine. Mine is more internal. No, we hope to be open by the fall school, but start of the school year.
Fantastic, I hope so.
Well, my opinion, it's a preacher's job to get all excited, so. I'm for passing this resolution. I'd make a motion that we do.
Okay.
And I'll second that.
And I also agree, so it'd be unanimous, so that motion passed. So you just, from here, you just have to work with her to get it
And then-
streamlined to your.
Tammy's good to work with, so I'm
Yeah, she
okay
is.
now.
Well, I appreciate that.
Make Tammy's job a lot easier, she can give you one check. I
Yes.
admire that Tammy's doing it the right way. She said, I don't wanna do that.
Right.
We'll do it to do it the right way.
Well, let's do it the right way.
And we're really looking, I think everybody else is looking forward to the benefit it can provide in our county. Somebody may think it's an Austin thing, it's not a Jennings, it's a county thing, so I'm hoping that really makes a benefit to our community up there, and we need to help.
We want to look at definition development, redevelopment. Nothing can fit it anymore, in my opinion, than redevelop people. Develop and
Now,
redevelop.
all of you have seen the building, right?
I've been through it, yeah.
Have you been there yet, Bill? Mr. Miller will set up something for you to come, okay?
You keep inviting me, but you never set a date.
Well, what we'll do is we'll have some cookies or cakes or something. Okay.
Now, have you
I
told
admire
him,
what you're doing, I
I'll
appreciate
get you
it.
his telephone number, okay?
We got to come up, the Oddfellows did, we had to give a donation, so
Yeah, well, that's good, I like that.
bring some money and you can get in quicker.
and have you told him part of that building sits in my high school bedroom?
No,
I didn't
that.
know we were
Stories we should be telling here?
Oh, no.
She lived in one of the houses there on the property as a youth. She grew up in one of those houses. Unfortunately, we just had to take it down. You know, it had to happen.
Pretty good
That's
memorial
good.
for your house.
It was time it needed to come down, huh?
That's pretty good memorial for you.
I know.
You have to come back and show us where actually
Where it
is.
actually
So
She could
was.
step it off.
Oh,
That
yeah.
would be a great, good story for the children.
Well, I really appreciate what you're doing for the community, all of you. And we hope in 10 years from now, and none of us will probably be here to talk about it, but we hope we'll see a trend starting here today that we'll talk about 10 years from now and say, hey, we're better off for this.
Yes,
Right.
So thank you all.
yes.
Do you have the forms that need to be
I
signed?
do, and then also, if you don't mind, I think we need to also have a motion, beyond the resolution is another one to, adopt the agreement between, because we've got two parts to this.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So the resolution is one that your board's action says we're gonna spend for you, and then this agreement says how we're gonna do it. So I think we need a motion on the
I
agreement.
make a motion
So, Bill,
accept this agreement.
Bill Graham made a motion to accept agreement, Iva,
I'll second that.
and I'll make it unanimous, so the
Okay.
motion passes.
All right, so here's what we've got. Here's the resolution. And I need all three adopting members to sign that, please. And then Steve, I'll get you copies of everything.
Yes, I appreciate that. You never know, I might get to meet that Karen one of these days.
You might, yes, she's a good woman, she is.
You learn a lot when you talk to her.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Sometimes you wanna hear it, sometimes you don't, yeah.
It's kinda like your doctor,
Sometimes it
isn't it?
falls on sweet ears and sometimes not so sweet.
That's correct.
So like being married, isn't it?
Watch out there.
All right? And
Yeah, be careful.
And then John, this one just requires your signature
Okay.
and my attesting, and then someone from the refuge to sign it.
Okay.
Okay.
Do they
And
need
then
to sign
they
here?
sign there, yes.
Mr. Miller, you sign it.
Whoever you feel comfortable with,
There you go. What is your
in there.
Just signature and title.
Right there at the, right below mine here, there, yeah.
Tammy, I'm gonna go ahead and get those for you, okay?
Okay, please do.
It's good to see you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
All right, you're welcome.
Thank you. There you go, Tammy.
Thank you very much.
All right. Now, is Steve coming back in? You got something you wanna,
He's gonna
Gonna get her some claims.
invoices, and then let me, I'll make you copies of this, and when
nice
we get
meeting
the
you
checks and
guys.
everything ready, then I'll give you
Good
copies.
luck with everything.
Thank you again.
If you need anything,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'll get in touch with you.
I actually got to see the building for the first time. I was here before COVID and helped them raise the money for the building.
There's three of them.
Building.
Very
Get us
good.
rolling.
That
Wow.
helps me a lot.
It's something.
Makes me feel like we're making some progress.
There you
now.
go. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Do all of you have a brochure?
Yes, I do.
You all got a brochure? Everybody got a
I
brochure?
didn't think there's anybody in the county that had
Right.
We're working on it, Bill. We want it countywide.
We keep printing them, so I want to make sure.
Thank you. I appreciate what this board has done, but I need to say, for the record, I appreciate what Scott County has done. This is not something that we could have done without county participation. So this is absolutely a Scott County project.
Thank you for
Thank
all
you,
your
Steve.
hard work.
I love you, your church, and I appreciate what you all have done to bring this here. I don't know of anything that's any more needed like this.
It's going to bless the children. We'll all be glad.
Yeah.
Thank you now.
Bye.
Nice to meet you all.
I think now we're gonna have Mr. Stemler up here. Annual meeting and TIF impact report from Baker Tilly.
Thank you for having us back another year.
I don't think we're signing anything here, we're just listening a
Just
whole lot and
listening.
approving some.
That's
Jason, when
right.
I first met you, where was you?
I'm sorry?
When I first met you, where were you working?
Well, with Umball, we merged with Baker Tilly, but yeah, that was probably 22 years ago.
Yeah, it changed a bit.
Well,
Spent a long time in City Hall.
yeah,
He's aged well,
Well.
hasn't he?
I thought it was Humboldt, but
yeah, it was Umball, so yeah, it takes a little bit longer to get out of bed, I'll tell you.
Well,
But,
that's the old. Hang on, you guys need something?
We're
for-
leaving. I gotta get back to work.
Thank you.
I was just on my lunch break.
thanks for coming.
yeah, so this is just our annual update, TIF update that you're required to have. Every redevelopment commission, as you know, is required to have this meeting. So I think overlapping tax units were notified, and as usual, we're just packed. The seats are packed. So we're just gonna go through this report. With me is Mark Keating. He's a manager with the firm. He's been here about 5 years, so he's helped me with the report the last couple years. So I'm gonna have him go through the report. But as you know, this is just kind of a good opportunity to kind of go through the numbers, but also just, you know, an informal time to ask questions that you may have had over the years that you haven't had a chance to ask Karen, or that come up as a through discussion. So I'll let Mark start.
Can I ask you one more question?
Yeah.
When I first met you, you had just started Humboldt, hadn't you?
Yeah.
One of your earlier,
Yeah, last time I've said she's seen me grow up, and I've learned a lot from you guys. So yeah, no, I've
very proud of you.
yeah, well, thank
Proud to
you.
see you.
Yeah, well, I you know, telling Mark, he's been here 5 years, but you do build relationships, and you do talk, you know, work with people for a lifetime.
Yeah,
So it's
definitely.
one of the things I like about this job is you're just not behind the desk crunching numbers. You get out and meet people and build those relationships.
Well,
So
one bad thing you bring to me is you see how quick time passes,
Oh.
how people grow up.
well, I know.
Definitely.
Well, you can probably relate. Mark was we were talking about because he's got 2 young kids, 2 young daughters, and the trials and tribulations of working and going to meetings and, you know, having family. And you know, my kids were, you know, they're in their 20s now. So talk about time flying. It's just amazing that I was in
Your
his
kids
place.
are in their 20s.
Yeah, they're 21 and 20.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
When you talked about going to Panama City, you know, at different times, we'd be vacationing a week or so around whenever he was vacationing down there, and we'd talk about our trips, and kids were little. and-
Kids were little then, and,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'll have 19 years at the county come February, Iva.
Wow.
Thank you, Iva.
You're welcome.
Now my kids, they only want to go to all-inclusive adult places, because they don't want to do anything with kids.
No, so, yeah.
You're not included in the airplane, are you?
Yeah.
But anyway, Tammy, you were one of the best hires that I have
Oh,
done.
Iva, you're too kind, you're too kind. And you know, I'll have to tell you something, because when Iva was auditor, the gal I worked with over in the map room, and I was new to the county, you know, of course, and we were like, well, now the recorder would be a good job. And you know, the treasurer I think would be okay, but there's 2 jobs in here I just don't think anybody would ever really want to run for, and that's clerk and auditor.
Yeah.
And that's, those are the 2 jobs we'd never run for. 10 years later,
Yeah,
guess
there
who's
you
on
go.
the ballot? You know, but I'll have to say I appreciate that, because I have truly loved learning this, and Jason again was one of the first people I got acquainted with, and he has been a steady staple and stable source of information and
Good information.
good information, not just stuff.
Right.
You know, it's valuable, and Heidi, you know, worked with her off and on through time, and just when I was starting to cut my teeth in there on the TIF districts and taxation and stuff, and I just fell into something that I just loved, and it's a good thing to whenever you find that thing that you really like, you know,
Right.
and if my desk and everything's an indication of my mind, yeah, everything's cluttered, but it's there, and it's got a little bit of organization to my chaos. But again, just good resources mean so much whenever you're sitting here trying to do the best job you can do. And you're only as good as your weakest bit of knowledge in there, and it's good to have people, and I appreciate you guys. And Mark has patience with me, because sometimes I'm running in 15 different directions, and I'll come back to you. I'm so glad, but you know, that's good. I appreciate
It's a
you
team
guys.
effort. It takes all of us, so it's
The
definitely
key
a
thing
team
you
effort.
said is we're only good as the information available to us, and that seems like that's a constant source of trying to find out information, so that's why you're here, and I'm grateful that you're here, both of you.
So the confidence that people place in you, I was glad Iva had confidence in me, and I'm glad Teresa had confidence in me, and then and you just build on the people that were ahead of you, you know, in this process. So I'm glad I've met with good people, and I've had a good bunch of resources, you know, to pull from. I appreciate everything very much.
Well, I couldn't have done near what I've been able to accomplish, if I accomplished anything without sitting in your office and talking and trying to find solutions.
Well, the auditor's office is the heart of county government.
Oh,
It is, everything that
Yeah.
goes through there.
Yeah.
Like Raymond Jones says, it
We're gonna
either
have
starts or stops or passes through there. Yeah.
Well, let's get moving here.
All right.
Would you like to?
Well, Mark's passed out kind of as we've done before. It's got a report that has like all the detailed information, the PowerPoint slides. We're gonna go to the PowerPoint slides. It's kind of a summary of the report, but we wanted to provide both for you in case you wanted to have trouble sleeping one night and wanted to go through the numbers. This will knock you right
I
out.
would go to sleep, yeah.
This will knock you right out, guaranteed. So,
We'll go ahead and start. If you want to turn to the TIF compliance page in the
Which one we talked about?
PowerPoint.
The page 3 of that.
Okay.
So the way TIF works is when you create an area, the parcel or parcel's assessed value, it becomes the base assessed value, and that value will be passed through the overlapping units. So any increase from that specific value that was set when you created the area, so for example, January 1, 2021, the base would be paid 22. That is set, any increase above that would be captured by the Redevelopment Commission. So you would capture any increases over that until the TIF area ends. Once the TIF area expires, that increase that you capture will be passed through along with the base assessed value to the overlapping units, and then that will be what they are going to capture going forward. If you want to go ahead and turn to page 4. This is your Northern Scott County Economic Development Area. It was created February 1 of 1999, and it includes the Austin, Tri-Hawk, and Subaru Automotive personal property. And that'll expire February of 2028, so taxes payable 2029 will be the last year we would be collecting TIF for. The estimated annual TIF for pay 21 was $642,000 roughly. Actual collections were $642,000. You can see in pay 22, we estimate about $641,000 to be collected, and pay 23, we estimate that to be about $716,000, and that is due to personal property rolling off, and there's a few abatements, or personal property depreciation and abatement rolling off of real property. If you want to go ahead and turn to page.
The initial investment that they put in there probably gets close to going off.
I think.
They've made a couple of
two-
expansions.
Yeah,
Well, I know they made some good expansion, but the initial,
Yeah.
how long have they been there?
I'm
Oh.
thinking 1 or 2 more payments.
I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we, of course, we have, you were talking about the bond,
Oh,
right?
the bonds,
Yeah,
that's on the next
I'm
schedule.
talking about the tax abatement.
Oh,
Yeah.
we do have, 1 or 2 that's still active there, but they're diminishing quite rapidly right now. Of course, the original has been long gone because they've been there near 30 years, right?
No.
20, looks like about 20,
Huh?
24 years.
10, the
Yeah.
original,
Been there.
Yeah,
yeah.
been there for quite a while.
It's-
98.
Because
Well,
I've had several
Yeah.
abatements roll off already, and they're on a 10-year cycle.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but like you said, they have had several expansions, and I've got 1 or 2 that's down probably in the 30% or
Are they
below.
planning any more that you know
You know, they, I will tell you, we've talked in the past, and I'd like to get this going again, they wanna buy about 30 more acres we have out
of? I
there.
think they got some good plans, you know, Mike.
Yeah.
When Mike retired up there, I didn't take his last name,
Yeah.
but was a plant manager.
Yeah.
They really had some aggressive plans for the future, and I think they still probably have those. I just don't think we got anybody up there that we can talk to like.
They-
good money.
Got that right.
They tell me they're trying to think 10 years ahead, everything they do.
The last time we heard from them was, since we went with One Southern, okay, on our economic development, the last thing we heard was that they were competing with their sister plant in Ohio for a new line. And they kind of secured their place with an abatement should that project come through. But I haven't heard whether corporate, which way they decided to go with that project. But they started laying the tracks for that abatement for a new expansion up there. But it kind of, about the time the 30 acres was being talked about, but I haven't heard much.
Actually, I think they're willing to buy the whole 60, but they wanted 30 for sure.
30 for sure.
Yeah. And I think we'll look at that again. I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah.
So on page 5, it shows the outstanding obligation. It's the 2014 taxable economic development revenue bonds. Currently outstanding, the amount is $739,000. They're going to mature January 15th of 29. As you talked about, funded to help construct certain capital projects for Austin Tri-Hawk. Those bonds are callable on any day upon 7 days notice as well. And the interest rate on those bonds is 1.5%, so it's really low.
Okay.
Yeah. I think they bought their bonds, so, in that deal, so that's why the interest rate is so low, so.
Right.
So if you want to go to page 6, this is estimated expenses. As you can see, the first item is debt service, that's to pay off the bond, or to pay the bonds. And then capital outlays is estimated about $400,000 per year, and professional fees are about $115,000 per year. So in 2022, there's an estimated $626,000 of expenses. And then
What would be the capital outlay, what's included in that $400,000?
That could be the items that you mentioned in the earlier meeting, that you're using an expense with EMS, or for the other project. So one of the requirements, as you know, for this new legislation is to put together kind of a cash flow or budget. So this is more for just illustration. This is kind of something that we've used in the past for the Redevelopment Commission. So that 400,000, there's nothing really tied to that. That's kind of just a placement holder,
Yeah.
just to show that, you could fund $400,000 in cap outlays.
Well, what's in the professional fees?
That's allows for like engineering, like Karen's fees, our fees, engineering fees, if you're wanting to do any kind of studies. Again, it's just kind of a placement holder showing that you could fund that. Mhm.
So then if you want to turn to page 7, this is the estimated impact on overlapping units. Scenario one is the present situation, where the tax rate is $2.03, 31 cents. You can see Scott County, the county tax rate is about 65 cents, and then the cum rate is about 2 cents, and that's based off of the 766 million of assessed value, and then the estimated levies that we're assuming at the max levy for that, so 4.9 million and $139,000 in your cum fund. And with that, there's a referendum rate. If you add up all those tax rates, there's a referendum rate for the school. So when you do the TIF, we'll have to subtract that out. So that's why you'll see the TIF rate being $2.24.
The TIF doesn't capture the school referendum rate.
Yes. So what we assumed was at the end of the TIF area, we're estimating about 40.5 million of assessed value, of incremental assessed value. We multiply that by the current tax rate, and we got about $909,000 in TIF is what is anticipated at the end.
So those abatements for both the rural and the personal continue to roll off. We're expecting your TIF to grow from 600,000 to 900,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then scenario two assumes that the incremental assessed value at the end of the TIF area is passed through, so you can see how that would impact the overlapping units. And if you go ahead and look at Scott County, if you were to pass through the difference from, or I guess the 40.5 million, you would see a decrease of about 3 cents in your overall general funds, and in your cum fund you would see an increase in your levy of about $7,300, and overall you would see the tax rate drop about 33 cents overall.
So as we talked about before, I like this schedule because, as you know, the county can't raise another penny in property taxes because you're at your maximum levy. Then the state tells you can't collect more than this, and that's that $4,977,000. So if you were to, in the TIF area, once it ends, that $40 million of assessed value that you were capturing, that just increases your tax base and decreases your tax rate. The only way you get a new money is from your cum cap development fund. But it would decrease your tax rate about, 33 cents, but you'd be losing $900,000 of TIF.
Wow.
So, because a lot of the misconception is if you were to end your TIF area, that $900,000 gets allocated to the county and to the school and to the township, and it just reduces tax rates.
Right.
Don't necessarily get more money. So it's, as long as you have projects to fund, it makes more sense to capture the TIF and fund those projects.
And on page 8, this is your second allocation area. It's the Central Sky Economic Development Area. This one was created December 17th, 2020, and this one captures the Jackson Connect utility, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
That's
Fiber
the newest-
optics.
Is that the newest thing
Yeah.
we've gone to?
Yeah.
And so this year we're estimating
What's Jackson Connect?
The fiber optics,
Something new we come up with.
Actually, I think this was your idea to put this
Committed to
together.
Jackson County RMC?
Do what?
And you committed to Jackson County RMC?
No, not committed to them. We're capturing their lines that's
We're
going
capturing,
throughout.
so we're drawing off of them $3,060.
Right. It's a separate tip.
yeah.
And I give Iva a lot of credit
Which-
for that. Iva did this.
It's not enough.
It'll get better.
Yeah, they do have abatements on their utilities, so those abatements roll off, and hopefully they start investing more as well. But there's some abatements, so as those abatements roll off, that will grow, and as they continue expanding their lines, you're gonna capture that as well.
And I'm working with them right now because they're questioning the calculations on my abatements because I think they thought they could tell me what was new and put this on 100%, and we know that's gonna decrease, but then the next year, so much is gonna go on 100%, and I said, I don't get numbers that way. I get them by district, and I said, I don't mind if you're new in a district, and this is the first time, I'll start you a new card, and you'll get your 100% that first time you hit that district, and then we'll work from there, I'm good with that, but I said, it's a 10-year, 10% graduated schedule, and so we're already into this a little bit, so hopefully we'll see that TIF money start in the older construction districts. That'll start hopefully coming up.
And then you
Is
can
it-
use that for, was it roads, I think, is the
Yeah,
plan?
because roads is the only thing that, roads and bridges, it's the only thing that we do.
All for
I
that.
got slip that electric call, I'm supposed to be somewhere in 5 minutes.
Me too.
And then if you want to see the detail, page 13 of the TIF report has the breakout by the districts. You can see how it's all being calculated.
Do we wanna take like a 5 or 10 minute break, because we're not gonna have enough people to pass these? So there's a few minutes,
They don't
no?
have to vote on them, do
No,
they?
we don't.
This is
No,
just information.
No, I mean,
Oh, the minutes and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, that's up to you guys, however. you
we
want.
can't vote anything till the bill comes back, I don't think. so.
Right,
Right.
right.
When
so-
we take, say, a
Yeah.
6 or 8
Are
minute
you,
break?
are you guys,
Yeah, we're done.
That was
you're
it.
done?
That was it.
Okay. All right, I just wanted to.
Unless you
make
guys
sure
had any
got-
questions?
No, thank you guys.
I was gonna ask you, since you was new, to
Mhm.
explain, because I haven't given up on my vision of having like a housing
Mhm.
area.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So if you could explain that a little bit,
When Bill gets back?
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
We had talked at one time, and just talked, is all it is, about maybe over an election area, something, is that what you're talking about?
Well, it can be anywhere.
We were, Tammy and I have had a lot of discussions about this, about, we think that's an area with River Ridge that might be worth,
Of that
Picking
corner.
up-
Is it Bill Sears that's working with Scottsburg and Austin?
Yes.
I
yeah.
don't know if you, what you think of him or not, but,
Yeah.
I know he's doing both in Scottsburg and Austin doing housing TIF, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah, both Scottsburg and Austin created a housing TIF area, and they're, well, Scottsburg is using their existing TIF
Mhm.
to help fund the infrastructure, and so is Austin. That's why we were there today, because they're issuing bonds to pay for the infrastructure to support the housing area. So what you really need is a developer willing to, for some property, and a developer to, go out to invest, and then we can, capture the TIF, and then we can tie it to this area, so you have, kind of be able to prime the pump if you wanted to help pay for the infrastructure for that.
That's where I'm
development.
curious, how our old area can help us create a new.
I mean, you can, for you to spend, TIF in one area to the other, they have to be kind of connected, but you connect it to right away. So, I mean,
Right.
it's best to have them close together, but I've been in
Okay.
areas where they're miles and miles apart, and you still connect them from right away, so you can use TIF from Austin Tri-Op to this TIF area.
Okay.
And you can also make the benefit that maybe some of the people living here are gonna be working in Austin Tri-Op. I mean,
That's
they're looking
true.
for employment, maybe
Yeah.
new housing stock. I mean, you can make that connection.
Mhm.
Yeah, you might have to look at the map and kind of see if you can.
Say that again.
Yeah.
I got it. Yeah.
Oh, no, we were just talking, one of the popular things right now, the legislation was changed a couple of years ago to allow, communities to create, housing TIF areas, which we couldn't until a few years ago. And a lot of communities are doing that because there's a shortage of housing stock. And, Austin and Scottsburg, as you probably know, are both created, housing TIF areas. And I've talked about that might be something the county might be looking at.
Gotta look at that awful hard. I know they're doing it.
Mhm.
But I gotta pay for the schools and everything else.
In Scottsburg, they're using the existing TIF to pay for the infrastructure. And the new houses that come in, I think it's 15%. They're giving 15% of their TIF to the school district. Because in housing TIF areas, the school board has to approve it.
Oh,
So that's one that's unique to like a commercial or,
So they agreed
manufacturing.
to it for 15%?
Yeah.
But you get down to how you pay police and fire, and park and recreation and all the other stuff, you start taking money out of there. I'm just saying that, because I think it's a lot to consider before we'd ever look at it from this board. I really
I don't
do.
consider
we'd
it
probably
taking
start
money
commissioners
out of
anyway,
there,
wouldn't it?
because we
We'd
have
We'd probably
nothing
start
right
through the
now.
commissioners
Well,
anyway.
So
wouldn't
Well,
once you
RDC would
do
start the
it,
process.
and with the assessed value,
schools like it because it gets students.
yeah, it encourages
The new
people
houses,
to
hopefully you
move.
get new students, and the schools get more money from students than they do the assessed value from the houses. So that's where schools like it.
Right.
Too many people look at what it does today and not what it's gonna do in the future.
Yeah.
And it's gonna run you up a tree in the future if you're not real careful.
Well, that's why you wanna make sure you have, I recommend, talking about how, prices of houses, you don't want, probably $100,000 houses, you want a higher income,
Right.
because to your point, you want, more people coming from outside the county, moving in here with good wages, because that will mean more income tax, and that will help pay for your police and fire, and all the
Right.
other things that they're gonna require, the extra services.
which type of home you're building.
Yeah, so that's why you wanna make,
Let money that Austin Highlands bring,
mhm.
bring again. You know, and we're not looking at the tax dollars, we're looking at.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it takes quite a few houses to
Yeah.
generate anything really worthwhile.
Takes time.
Mhm.
I know a lot of the people that moved in and started working at Tri-Hawk when it first started and everything, a lot of them was going out of county.
Mhm.
Or if they came here from other states or whatever, they moved to Seymour, or they
Mhm.
moved to Columbus and
Yeah,
commuted back and forth.
yeah. We're seeing a
We did
lot of
have
areas,
housing.
we're seeing a lot of areas create these housing TIF areas because there's the shortage everywhere.
Yeah, there is.
Which is why the legislators, I mean, I have to applaud them, I feel like that was one of the few times they really listened to people and did something positive, was make TIF more flexible to create housing TIF areas
Mhm.
for this reason. So,
You guys got anything else?
Thank you very much.
Is it Mark?
Yes.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming, Jason.
Good to see you.
Appreciate you guys. We'll probably be talking again, because I think there's some good ideas about maybe.
Okay.
How
Yep.
about they've got a claim?
Yes, we've got a consideration for your professional services on the annual report.
We need to
Oh,
vote.
Yeah,
okay.
and then that's on here too, cause we'll get that one and your ARP one, consulting services on Friday,
Okay.
okay?
And we'll have one for today's work, but I'll probably like a few weeks before we send it.
Okay.
Well, I guess one other thing that you'll have to make the determination that you'll want to decide today is that you don't have any excess assessed value that you want to pass through, because you'll have to send that letter out
Out.
to all the working tax units, that you don't have any pass through.
Alright,
I'll do the same.
so, you guys, do you wanna make a motion at the end of this report that we don't have any, assessments that we wanna pass through at this next tax?
For page 23, do you want to
Page
capture
23.
everything next year?
Right.
You're not gonna turn any of your assessment dollars over to the other units?
No.
Okay,
No.
alright, does somebody wanna make that
I'll make a
motion?
motion.
We'll send you those letters.
Okay,
I'll second.
And we'll make that unanimous.
so no excess, right?
Thank you both.
Yeah, thanks.
Do we need to vote on that 3670?
Here in a minute, after the minutes and that, and then that'll just be you signing the claim, and I'll get it to Mandy, and she'll send a check Friday.
Okay. Well, it involves them, that's what.
Well, because this is just, they've already billed us, so we're good.
Okay,
Well, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark.
Good seeing
Yep,
you
you
again.
Thank you, Mark, I appreciate it. And I think I've got an outstanding
Thanks.
email with you. I've been catching up my emails since I've been out, and I think you've asked me for something.
I have to take a look at it, but I know if you need any help setting up the TIF areas for the housing, just let me know.
Okay, all right.
Oh, yeah, we'll want to do that before we do neutral, or the certified.
Neutralization, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So, yeah, just call us when you're ready.
Okay, very good.
Jason,
Thanks.
you sure
Thank you
got
so
kids
much,
in
appreciate
place?
it.
Oh, I'm positive, and they remind me quite often, so yeah, no, they're both at IU right now, both in
Oh,
Golden
wow.
So,
Both of them at the same time?
yeah.
I am proud of you.
What are they studying for?
Tyler's doing occupational therapy, and then Adeline, she's doing, health business.
And you're
So,
figuring out how to pay for it.
Yeah, yeah. So my daughter, I mean, I'll brag a little bit, but, she, came home and she got, her first A minus. She's had all A's. This
Oh,
will be her third year.
wow.
She's had all A's, and she got, it was like 92% was an A, and she got a 91.4.
Oh,
So she was so mad. She emailed her professor, and I said, don't, an A minus is
It's
still
still
great.
good.
That's still great.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, but I appreciate that. Thanks.
Thanks for keeping us in
You guys
line.
be
Yeah,
careful.
Good to see you.
Thank you, good meeting you, Mark.
It was nice to meet you.
Watch
Okay,
it hard. Keep an eye on it.
next thing up is a consideration for minutes from our April 25th meeting this year, and I don't know if you guys had a chance to really look at them or
Make a
not.
motion we approve.
Motion made by Bill Graham to approve the minutes last meeting,
Second.
second by Ivan, that'd be unanimous, passes. And, so we got that. Next thing, consideration of claim payment to Baker Tilly, $3,670, and that's for their services, is that what that is?
Yes, annual reporting on Gateway for our TIF areas.
Okay.
So that keeps us in state compliance.
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Bill Graham,
Second.
second by Ivan Gadway, and I'll make that unanimous.
And I got you to sign this claim, John.
Okay,
We do.
Yes, sir, sorry.
We're
get the
agreeing.
meeting over with, yeah. Bear with me here just a second.
Make a motion we adjourn.
You didn't even let me sign my name yet, Bill.
Well, I thought you'd done.
No, I'm just kidding with you. We gonna second that,
Yeah.
and I'll make a unanimous, meeting is adjourned.
Okay.
Thank you.
When's